Are you ready to become the balanced leader you are destined to become? Then stay right here. Welcome to today's Balanced Leader, where we empower today's leader to be the best that you can be, both in your professional and personal life. I'm your host, Caroline Baird, and I've explored and believe the intersection of wellness and leadership are key to finding the balance you are craving as a leader. This is the show where we focus on leadership and the importance of maintaining balance in today's fast-paced and constantly changing world. We talk about topics related to leadership, from communication and team building to personal development and finding balance during challenging times. We will also hear from inspiring guests who have achieved success in their fields and have valuable insights to share about their leadership journeys and on what it takes to be a successful leader. But this podcast isn't just about leadership, it's also about wellness too. Taking care of your mind, body, and spirit is essential to becoming a successful leader, and you'll get tips and strategies for living a healthy, balanced life, from managing burnout and improving mental health, to finding ways to reset and reground during a typical day at work so that you can achieve your goals. So whether you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, or just someone looking to improve your leadership skills, this podcast is for you. Are you ready? Well, let's get going. Hello and welcome to today's Balanced Leader. I'm so excited to bring you this solo episode about the end of the year and the beginning of a new year. And we've got so much that I want to share with you, but I wanted to review and kind of give you an idea of why I wanted to do this solo episode. And it started with me actually completing a review of my own year and what I've learned. And so in particular, yesterday when I did an event with my amazing coach, is we talked about kind of reflections and resolutions. And one of the things that I've been talking a lot about, or starting to prepare you to hear a lot about, is around life being simple. So when I was not feeling well, pretty much for 6 weeks recently, I had a lot of time to stop and reflect. And that's always a good time, right? I'm always talking about pausing. And so sometimes the pause is just going to come and challenge us in a way that we're not expecting it. And so while I was ill, I was able to really pause and reflect and dig into where am I in my journey of life? What is it that I want my purpose to be? What is it that I want to bring to you? That is a value, that is a purpose. I mean, I've lived a life, I've had great times, I've had some challenges. And so how do I bring those experiences to you so that you can learn? You can learn from my growth, my experiences, my challenges. Maybe not make the same mistakes that I made, but really learn from within and how to make life better. And so a lot of the epiphanies, if you will, that came while I wasn't feeling well were around keywords. And I talk a lot about pausing to take time to reflect, to reset, to reground so that you can be at your best. And really in 2024, the thing that's going to be coming to you is around life being simple. And so how do we make life simple again? I think we've made our world very complicated. I think we have super high expectations at times. I think we've become a bit of a materialistic world, dare I say, and I know some people like their stuff. I like my stuff too, but I think it's all about going back to a more simplistic life. And I'm going to be sharing more about what that looks like for me. But in that simplistic life, taking those moments and pausing to be grateful, to find peace, to find joy, to learn, to feel fulfilled. What does that look like? And so that has kind of been my reflection in this past 2023 is I've realized that I am at my best, I am at my peak when I have the ability to pause, when I have the ability to rest, when I have the ability to have life that is simple. And I joked yesterday when I was partnering with somebody, I said, yes, I'm going to use the kiss analogy, but I'm going to call it keep it simple, sweetheart. Like, we make things sometimes so complicated, and life is really something that should be special. We all have our gifts that we bring to this world. We all want to have purpose. We all want to have meaningful lives. We want to live them with ease. We want to live them with grace. We want to live them with love. And so that is really going to be my journey for anybody that's with me in 2024. And I am super, super stoked about what's coming. So we'll talk about that later. But the one thing that I wanted you to hear was I've also listened to a podcast of a lady I love to follow. And she talked about a quote in her podcast when she was talking about 2024. And I thought it was so relevant that I wanted to share it with you. It's a quote from Nicola Jane Hobbs. And the quote, because I don't want to get it wrong, I'm actually going to read it, is instead of asking yourself, have I worked hard enough to deserve rest? And rest could be vacation, whatever that looks like for you. So have I worked hard enough to deserve rest? Instead of asking yourself that, ask yourself, have I rested enough to do my most loving, meaningful work? Right? I think a lot of people are working really, really hard, working long hours, but aren't feeling fulfilled and aren't feeling that they are doing their most loving, meaningful work. I was one of those people. And so I found that through pausing, through reflection, through gratitude, through some of the little things, and they don't have to be major, but some of the little things that I've implemented in my life, I understand exactly what that means now. And I think it needs to be part of your plan moving forward if you want to live a life of fulfillment and purpose, at the same time of having peace and love and joy in your life. Right? Life is short. I've always talked about that. And what's our legacy going to be when we are no longer here? Do we want our legacy for our children to be mom or dad or aunt or uncle or grandma or grandpa, whoever you are, worked really, really hard? They worked 60, 70-hour weeks to keep a roof over our head. And I know the economy is really tough right now and people are having to do that. But do you want that to be your legacy for the younger generations of that is life? And I think if we look back upon the legacy that our parents and grandparents left us, there are elements that you probably want to bring into your world. And there's probably elements of it that you just don't resonate with you. And you're like, gosh, I so don't want to do that. And having adult kids, I can tell you, they don't want to work the ridiculous hours that I used to work. And I put that on myself, that I felt that for me to have an impact, to be meaningful, to have purpose, that I had to put my heart and soul into it. And then, of course, other elements of life suffer as a consequence, right? So I think moving forward, so building plans and actions, if you will, or goals or whatever that is in 2024, for me is going to include actions of ease, actions of simplicity, actions of alignment. And again, instead of working those 60-hour days, which I don't anymore, I'm also focusing on not working out of a place of urgency. And when I talk about urgency, I'll talk a little bit in this episode about it, but, do we come from a world of chaos? Do we come from a world that's very reactive instead of proactive? And so in 2024, my intention is going to be not to work out of that urgency. And, if you think about that and ask yourself that question, do I want to continue to work in a place of urgency where I just never know what's going to happen and I have to be at beck and call? How does that make you feel? Like, really sit with it, feel it through your body from your head to your toes, and think about what that means. Think about how that makes you feel. And then take a deep breath and release it and blow it out, like I always tell people to do, and just get rid of it. And then think about, wow, what would my life be if I moved with ease, with simplicity, with that grace for myself. And how does that feel? Probably feels really, really good. And so I think in order for you to do that, and some people may say, oh, sure, Caroline, that's really easy to say, but you don't understand the world I live in. You know what? Is it ever going to get better? At what point do you take control of your own life? At what point is your ability to take time off, your ability to rest, your ability to be a really great leader going to make a difference? And that's what we want to talk about a little bit today. So, and I'm hopefully you guys are going to keep up with me, but the other thing I think about is boundaries, right? When we talk about boundaries, it's so easy to say, yeah, I've got boundaries, but I really want you to dig deep, dive into what that means. As a leader, work boundaries are critical, right? I mean, you've got boundaries at home, and they're a little bit easier sometimes to be able to manage, depending on, what the state of your home feels like. But it's easier to say no to people when it's you personally or when it's people as opposed to at work, right? So as a leader, work boundaries are so critical. And if you set yourself boundaries, you're going to help your team set boundaries, and those are going to make your boundaries so much easier. And they are going to look at you as a phenomenal leader, because not only did I work hard and play hard, I had these boundaries where I could feel confident enough that I need to lean in here, but at the same time, I can pause and rest over here and truly rest and not take work phone calls, not have to take my work phone with me, not have to read emails, or, the old adage, and I know a lot of people do it because to some degree I still do. I've got all these emails, so I've got to work twice as hard before I go on vacation and twice as hard when I get back from vacation. So what's the point in taking a vacation? How do we change that? How do we set those boundaries ahead of time? And when you empower your teams and when you set those boundaries, it is doable. It really, really is. And so that's a lot too of what I'm going to be talking about. So learning how you can respect boundaries, not only for you, but for your team, and all with a value of ease in mind. And I love that word about ease. I'll give you an example. In the retail space, because I've worked in retail, I've worked in hospitality, I've worked in the food industry. So very reactive world, right? A world of chaos, if you will. They have in the retail space a blackout time, right? So there's a blackout period where individuals are not able to take any time off. No vacations are allowed, etc. And that's usually their peak times, right? Through the holidays, it's all hands on deck. So that is critical. How about a blackout planning for your vacation or PTO? Think about that. You can instill it in work, that blackout period, but why not be able to do it when you want to take vacation or take some time off? Give yourself that permission that enoughness is better than chaos. How do I teach my people that when they are on vacation, I am not going to bother them unless it's an absolute emergency? And I'm talking emergency. Why can't whatever that needs to be done by the people that are there, or the person be updated when they get back? What is that critical? And I think the higher you go in a leadership role, of course, you want to be kept abreast of certain things, right? If you have a manager that all of a sudden has resigned, of course, you want to be told that. But at the same time, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to throw your vacation out the window just because something at work has happened? And is that the right thing to do? How does that set the feeling of what people can reach out to you for? Where do they draw that line? And I think it is so important to set those boundaries, but you need to be clear with your team ahead of time. You need to be clear on what your expectations are. I need you to tell me when this is happening, but then role reversal. I'm not going to reach out to you unless something huge happens, right? Aside from that, you're on vacation. We'll deal with it when you get back. So with enoughness instead of chaos, when we're under chaos, I know I've been in chaos and probably have worked in a world of chaos and managed through chaos the bulk of my life. When you are under chaos, it becomes really, really difficult to be able to plan and be strategic a year in advance, right? And the higher a leader you become, the more that becomes critical because you need to be the strategic partner or the planner. And so when you're always under chaos, it becomes hard to plan a year in advance. And so in my business now, I've been planning no more than 3 months out, probably because, well, for a number of reasons, but probably because I didn't exactly know what my niche was. I didn't know what my clients were looking for. And so I threw that all away because I don't want chaos in my world. It was like, well, what resonates with me? That's what I'm going to bring to the world. And then the clients that resonates with will come and see me, will come and follow me, and we'll build a beautiful community together. And so what I've learned this year is, again, through my business coach, that planning a year in advance is so critical, especially when you're running your own business. But even as a leader, as a business, you need to have that direction because you don't want to live in that chaos. However, those plans need to be loose to some degree. They can't be so stringent that you're not going to sway from it because we know things happen in this world and we need to pivot. So I've learned how to build loose plans and understand and implement them in a way that the rhythm of them is what I want for 2024. So this is my goal for 2024 for me personally, and to bring in my purpose in life. Here is my plan, which are loose plans, but pretty detailed, but allow me to pivot whenever I need to pivot and adjust as needed. And I will say, those that know me know I talk a lot about the 1%. So when we build these plans, and when I talk about pivot, I don't mean throw it out the window and start from scratch. I mean the ability to sometimes change it by 1 degree. And if you think about the 1 degree that I talk about and that I've learned through Martha Beck, is if we just switch it by 1 degree in 1 month, and we did that every month, we would land at a completely different location at the end of the year. And so having that ability to not only be thoughtful in planning and strategic, it frees you up from the chaos so that then you can sit back, you can assess, and you can make those 1 degree pivots that then turn out to be something that you can do with such ease and such grace, and are super impactful because now you've ended up in a different place than you even thought possible. And why not? Why not dare to dream, right? So going back now, that was my epiphanies since the end of October. So it's been a lot. And like I said, there's a lot of change coming and I'm still working through it. But my question to you was, so pause and think about what your vision and the pillars were at the beginning of 2023. And hopefully you've got them written down because they should always be written down. And I used to have them, but very often I wouldn't go back and reflect on them. I did at performance review time. You go back and you go, okay, what did I do about this? I committed to this. Did I meet those goals? But it is something that is so ingrained in me now that I want to learn from. So you don't want to repeat the same mistakes. I want to grow from what worked, what really resonated with people, what really helped me to grow as an individual. So if you go back to the beginning of the year and you look at your pillars and your vision, did you find that you had to change them during the year? And did you change them greatly, significantly, or just that 1 degree? Were they good overall? Because really that vision and those pillars shouldn't change a lot. It's maybe the actions that you take, it's maybe the strategy that you implement or the marketing avenues underneath them, but it certainly isn't the overall pillars and vision, because those should remain constant year over year. It's just what you do underneath them. That makes a difference. So I think the other piece is when we do goals, and this is something I'm going to be talking about in a workshop that's coming up that I'd love to have you join me. When we write our goals, are they too high level or do they have some depth behind them? And I used to be very much a high level person because I knew chaos would take over and dictate what I had to do anyways. But when we can take one of those goals and we can outline specifically what we're going to do, whether we do it per quarter or per month, and I'll talk a little bit about that, it allows us to make such an impact and really drive results, which is at the end of the day what we want to do, right? But now you've got this plan of month over month, quarter over quarter, what you're going to do, because you now know what the trends are, because you've been reviewing your pillars, you've been reviewing your vision, you've been reviewing your goals, and you've seen what the impact is that you've had. So I think a lot of times when we're too high level or too vague, it doesn't give us the opportunity to truly drive those results. So, thinking about it, when you had your goals or your actions, the steps that you wanted to take, did you dive deep into them, into each one of them? And what did that look like? Were you successful in meeting those? Did you achieve what you wanted to? And again, things are going to happen. We're going to have to pivot. The world is going to change what it wants. But were you successful in achieving that goal to some degree of what you wanted to do to make an impact? And then why was that, or was that not? What were the influences that made you successful or really pulled out the carpet from under your feet? Were they internal? Were they external? These are great growing learning steps for any leader when we do a reflection. It's not just about the ROI, although ROI is very important. How did we achieve those? What did we learn from them? Because even our failures, and we often talk about, we want people to take more chances, more risks, and learn from their failures. Well, if you're not going back to reflect and to understand completely, why is that? I could run a workshop tomorrow, but if nobody attends, what's my learning from it? Well, I can't be last minute. I can't just throw it on the calendar. And there are times that's going to work. When there's crisis in the world and we need to bring people together because people need that love, that community, that support. Of course, we can do it in the moment's notice because it's what's so needed globally. But when we're talking about business and we're talking about us as a leader, we really have to plan and be thoughtful on what it is we're trying to achieve. And it always starts from our vision and our pillars and then works down. Any good leader is really good at that. And then looking at, did it work? Did it not work? Did we have to pivot? Were we good at the pivot? Did we think through everything we needed to when we were planning? And what did we learn? What didn't work? And what did we learn? And what can we celebrate? What are the little wins that we had along the way? We want to make sure that we're celebrating the achievements. So maybe you only changed 1 degree in 1 month and then 1 degree in another month. And then in the 12 months, you only made 2-degree turn. Well, it's still going to get you in a different place. So even though I didn't achieve what I wanted to because of X, Y, and Z, some of which were in my control and I'll fix and some which weren't, how do I handle those in the future? I still made an impact. I still made a difference. I still felt purposeful. I still had meaning in my work. What I brought was still what the world needed, right? And then, of course, communication. Did you communicate in a way that people could participate, that they understood what you were doing? Was it clear for others? We need others to know what our pillars are and what our goals are for us to know what winning the game looks like, right? And when we don't tell them that, they're flying by the seat of their pants. You need to tell them what the end goal is. They may even have recommendations, right? Together as a community, we are stronger. We absolutely are. So communicate, communicate, communicate. And even if you're struggling, communicate, because they're probably struggling along with you and are afraid to say anything. But as a leader, this is a great way to bring the team together to work through the problem together, to celebrate together, to support each other when things aren't going well. Because trust me, if you're thinking it, they're thinking it. I've always said that. So if you think about what the pillars are and what winning looks like, and you're sharing that, that is all around the meeting your why. So we go back to Simon Sinek and your why. And I think that is always great to do. And I know for me, I'm often asking myself, what's my why? What's my purpose? I feel like I have so much to give this world, and I want to give until my last breath. Well, what does that look like? What is my why? And is next year any different than this year? Well, yeah, absolutely it's going to be, because I've grown so much in 2023. I've become so much more comfortable in sharing my journey and my story with you, because I want you to learn from what I've learned. Take what resonates, leave the rest behind. But I'm here to help others grow. I feel that that's what leaders need to do. Leaders need to be more transparent, more authentic. They are humans. We are all humans. We are all going to make mistakes. And I think it allows people to feel better and come forward with some amazing ideas, but also take accountability when they make mistakes themselves. So are your pillars going to be the same for 2024? Or are they going to be different? Generally, my pillars are going to be the same, but definitely the underlying actions and strategies and goals are going to be different. But the pillars are pretty much the same, because the pillars are what's important to me and my why and the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. Because just sitting at home is not meaningful for me. It's not purposeful for me. I had to find something to give. But at the same time, I had to, embrace the fact that I had to rest. I had to take self-care. I had a lot of trauma that happened to me. And so, taking that time to heal, to realize what's important to me, but then turn around and share that with people has been so important to me. And so one of the questions I had, did I feel like I was just getting things done, or was there purpose behind it? Well, I'll be honest, in 2023, now that I look back on it, I would say, maybe I was just trying to get things done. I was trying to find out what it was that you wanted, instead of sharing what I want to share with you. And again, if it resonates, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. And so 2024 will be quite different from what you're going to see from me. And then how do you want next year to be the same or different? Again, same for me. My pillars are still the same, but the way I present it, even just through my own growth, is going to be so different. And as a leader, that is so important for you to see, because a lot of times the pillars don't change, but we always need to challenge for more and more. And how we challenge ourselves for more and more in growth is by learning, by taking those things, taking those risks, taking those chances, and learning as a team together. And perhaps you're putting working with purpose and ease on your list. I know that's one that's always been on, purpose has always been on my list ever since I can remember, because I always felt that I wanted to make a difference somehow. I always wanted to be purposeful. And I think everybody who goes to work wants their work to matter, right? Very rarely does somebody go to work with the intent to do harm. There are those individuals, but generally speaking, people come and they want to be purposeful. They want their work to be meaningful. They want to have fun. Yes, they are there to collect a paycheck, but we don't want to dread what we do to collect that paycheck, because that gives us no fulfillment at the end of the day. And so I know for me, adding ease to that list is going to be important, that word ease or simplicity, because I want it just to flow. I want it to feel authentic. I want it to be transparent. I want to share as much as I can. And so what does that look like for you? I would say pause and reflect on that. What are the reasons you're doing what you do? Because I'm done with checking the boxes, and I'm sure you are too. Checking the boxes and working hard doesn't help anybody. You may as well just be a robot if that's what you're doing. You want to make a difference. You want to be liked. As much as I don't like to be people pleaser or perfectionist, people still want to be liked. You still want your work to be appreciated. And I think that is so key in this world, that we acknowledge that. And that is something that you're going to see a lot more from me in 2024 as well, is acknowledging those that mean the world to me. And I've started in 2023 where I've reached out to people that I haven't talked to in a long time, only to tell them how important they are to me in my life and to connect with them, because it's important, because I want them to know they are part of who I am today is a result of them being in my life. And I think that is so, 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 so important to tell people. And I would say, if you know you're exhausted, I know there was a point, particularly through COVID, where I was absolutely exhausted. We were just going through the motions, right? And that was just part of the world at that point in time. But you can't live like that. You can't work at your best when that's what you're doing all the time. And so how can you change that and regularly check in on that, so that you feel you can catch yourself before that burnout or exhaustion, and you can take a step back and adjust or pivot so that that doesn't happen? Because stuff's going to happen in life. Stuff's going to throw us for a loop. Things that we weren't even counting on. God forbid, illness, death, grief, etc. But there's so many things that will change our lives in just a moment. And so checking in on a regular basis will help you to then, when you're dealing with something like that, be able to come out of it quicker or know how to handle it. And so that is something that I've learned a lot, is really checking in more often and understanding what I need to do that is right for me. And then, of course, we've talked a little bit about deeper, not wider, right? So how do I become more thoughtful and deeper in doing those things as opposed to wide? Because when we dig deeper, we actually make an impact. When we spread our net too wide, we have that peanut butter spread, and we don't really do well at anything. We just kind of are at everything. And so what are those two things that you can do that makes a difference? So then it's really thinking about what could we do deeper, and what impact can we make in these two areas alone that make a difference, so that we've actually made an impact in the world or in our area of expertise, and putting that energy behind making a difference instead of that feeling, right? Because we want it to be fulfilling. And that's when you feel, that's not fulfilling, that's not effective, even in your job. So as a leader, how do we identify that sooner and catch ourselves so that we can get out of that funk? We can shake that off quicker. And that's something I'm going to be doing in 2024 as well. I'm telling you, 2023 has been a real eye-opener for me. And my intent is to review things quarterly. So I would say you could do monthly, but quarterly, when you set your goals and you're reviewing them, it has allowed you to make that momentum. So if you check them monthly, you may not have enough time to have some momentum. You're keeping your finger on it. It's not like you're completely blind to it. But when you're reviewing them quarterly, it allows you to see where you need to pivot so you can make those changes. And maybe you haven't made a 1-degree change in January, but you did in February. Now you may need to make a 2-degree change in March so that you stay on track. But when we review them in depth, again, this is going deep into what you're doing and where you are at, it allows you to reflect on where you are, what you've learned, what worked well, what you need to change moving forward. So those 1% changes, but then also allows you to look forward and say, okay, well, do the next quarter or quarters to the end of the year make sense? And do I need to adjust or pivot from those? And then I wanted to talk a little bit about my coach talks about planning and experimenting ahead of time. And for an example, she often talks about, if I had an offer that I wanted to put out in January, which I do, I should be speaking about it no later than the entire month of December. Well, when we don't plan ahead, when we don't plan a year ahead and then in depth, how are we going to make sure that we're sharing it with people? So how will I make sure that you know that I've got a workshop coming up that you've just got to see, you've got to attend, or that your desire is to attend it because it's been something you've been wanting to learn? Well, so how do I plan? How do I experiment and think about what it is that I want to do? And how do I make sure that what I'm creating is what you are looking for. Well, that happens in any business as a leader, right? We've always got to keep tabs on our clients, our business partners, and make sure that we're all aligned and we're achieving in what it is that our clients want. And so, how are you doing that, right? How does that relate to you? How are you able to take a test of how people are feeling? And that comes through communication. That comes through being open and vulnerable. And again, I'll go back to the retail world. It goes back to talking to a person, a shopper that's come into your store. Hey, what are you looking for? Did you find what you were looking for? Are you needing anything else? When you have those conversations, people will be open. People want help. And so that helps you to be able to pivot and to make sure that you're delivering the best that you can, as opposed to just making assumptions. That's what market research is all about, right? But you're doing market research in your own little niche, in your own little community, which is so, so important. And instead of being in that chaos, being more in that reactive mode. So when you plan ahead and you're proactive, it truly allows you to watch what's unfolding and then adjust as needed, all with ease and with awareness. And here comes that fulfillment. And it allows you to have that calmer year, because now I've been able to take a look at the year ahead. I've been able to see what it is that I've planned out, and I can watch it unfold. Just like watching a child grow, we've always got these plans, and we maybe take them into sports, maybe take them into arts or music, right? And we watch it unfold. But if all of a sudden that child hates music or is not good at math, we pivot to help them. Business is the same way. And so how do we watch that unfold so that we can learn and pivot and adapt to reach those goals that we have, all with ease? Because now we're not in the chaos. We're not in the reactive stage. We're in the proactive, watching it happen. And when you're in that ease and grace stage and simplicity, you've got that awareness of what's coming and what's happening, and you can make wiser decisions. Because guess what? If you're calmer, you're probably more rested, which means you're working at your peak performance and you're bringing out meaningful work. And that allows you to have a calmer year and to really make a difference. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today in today's Balanced Leader. But if this resonated with you, and I truly hope it did, because I've learned a lot this past year, and all around reflections and setting goals, and how do I do that so that I can have this calmer, more easeful year? Well, I've got a program coming out. It's a free workshop. It's called Reflection and Resolutions, a New Year workshop. It's on December 27th, which is a Wednesday. It's at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what we're going to do is help you explore. We're going to reflect on this past year and see where you are. And we're going to celebrate some of your wins. And then we're going to talk about the year ahead. And we're going to talk about what is important and what do you want the year ahead to look like. And then we're even going to help you set one goal and think about, what do I need to achieve that goal? What tools, what support, what is it that I need to do to achieve that goal? So stay tuned. That's coming out. You'll be able to sign up. Again, that's Wednesday, December 27th. It's after the crazy rush of the holidays, but it's before the new year. So hopefully you can join me for that. And I'm also starting a women's circle or membership program. And so if peace, simplicity, community mean a lot to you, think about back in the day when women used to work together in a community. It was basically a circle. They would bake together, they would cook together, they would support each other. If somebody's house was caught on fire, they would all come together and help each other. They build together. This is for a purpose of women supporting women and uplifting women and helping women to feel more empowered and supported by other women. Because boy, oh boy, I've seen a lot of women very cutthroat. This is all about helping women. And that starts in January. And I'm so excited about that program as well. So there's also details on my website, and I'd love to have you join me. And if you reach out directly to me, I'll give you a code for a discount for you to join us in the membership. You sign up for 6 months in advance, you'll get 2 months for free. And you'll be part of the community building of a wonderful group of women who are there to support each other. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope this so resonated with you. I look forward to seeing you at my Reflections and Resolutions workshop and for you to join me on my Soulful Healing membership. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. That's all for this episode of today's Balanced Leader. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion on wellness and leadership, and that you took away some valuable insights and strategies to help you become a better leader in your own life. Please leave a rating and review. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss the next one, as we continue our exploration of what it means to live life as today's leader. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and remember that true leadership starts with taking care of your own well-being. One deep breath in and one deep breath out. Keep striving for excellence and inspiring others to do the same. And finally, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on Today's Balanced Leader.